During the weekend, I saw Captain America Civil War, a film I was actually quite keen on seeing. But rather than going to our usual independent cinema, we decided to go to Omniplex, which just so happened to be around the corner from us and is one of the leading cinema chains in Ireland. My dad and I sat comfortably, only to be surrounded by a group of kids who throughout the entire film were talking loudly, throwing popcorn at each other, running in and out of the screen, and flashing lights and playing noises on their phones. Members of the audience were telling them to be quiet, which led me to do something I don't usually do. I stood up, I left the screen, I took myself out of the narrative, which at this point was quite important, to get a member of staff. When the staff eventually came into the screen, they didn't intervene whatsoever. It was only when a more frustrated member of the audience left to get the staff that they did in fact confront the group of kids. But this unfortunately was futile, given that 5 minutes later the kids were being obnoxious again. The problem was not necessarily that the kids were still being puerile and disruptive. It was more so the fact that the film itself was fundamentally ruined. As a film lover, as an art lover, as someone who deeply cherishes cinema, being caught up in this kind of behavior effectively kills the movie-going experience. Now, film has been my life from a very young age. In fact, this year, I will have been producing and writing about film for literally a decade. That's crazy. I have devoted my life to cinema, so you can understand how the movie-going experience is extremely personal to me, more so because I get to share my love for film with my dad, who is participating in a passion that I am so deeply devoted to, and he respects what I do and why I love doing it. That's an invigorating thought that I don't take for granted when I look at what I have in life. So having my most treasured pastime with my dad destroyed that evening made me consider what exactly the movie-going experience actually means. I could sit and rant passionately about the parasites that poison others' enjoyment for their own unjust selfish gain, but that would prove ultimately meaningless amongst the other articles discussing this topic. The issue of disruptions in cinema is not uncommon, but it does have a rather profound effect on those that have such an immense pleasure for film. I personally prefer to watch a movie in the cinema than watch it at home, purely because many films are built for a platform that can exhibit them with grandness. The emotional impact of a film is enhanced and organically suited to a dark room that focuses your attention on a big screen that accentuates the piercing visuals and a sound system that intensifies your immersive experience. The audience can also be a key component to the experience as well. For example, if the audience are unanimously laughing in sync with the film, the comedy is even greater as a result. Or if the audience are maturely jumping in fear at the same time, it makes the horror even more suitably enjoyable. The atmosphere makes you feel more involved. As a matter of fact, I'll give you two examples of my favourite experiences at the cinema. In the summer of 2012, when a group of friends and I went to see The Expendables 2 with a busy crowd, the audience were roaring with laughter and cheering with excitement, greatly enhancing the quality of the film. If I was to watch The Expendables 2 in an empty theatre or at home, the campy, quirky, emotional core of that film would be completely lost, making for a worse experience as a result. The other time was back in January of 2015 at the Queen's Film Theatre in a small art house screening of Whiplash. The audience emoted with the drama and gave the film a standing ovation, highlighting how the audience united in agreement over the quality of the experience. Fundamentally, films do work better in the cinema, and the audience effectively control the experience, albeit while naturally respecting others around them and remaining socially appropriate. Nobody ever laughs too loudly or jumps out of their seat with falseness. When it's a natural response, it influences the rest of the room and elevates the cinematic experience. When it is a false response, we naturally detect this and it distracts us from the real thing. No matter the context of the film, the audience speak as a democracy. But we can even end up in situations where the audience clash. For example, Captain America Civil War targets a mass demographic, so you can't predict the kind of audience you might receive. Some people may rebuke my negative experience because I was perhaps in a screening more suited to younger audiences, but the fact that film is such a universal experience makes this argument invalid. For example, my girlfriend and I saw The Jungle Book in a relatively empty screening in the AMC in Manchester when a child started crying. Just because it's a screening catered to families and children still doesn't permit that parent from thinking it's appropriate to allow their child to continue crying just because of the perception that it's a kids movie that's made for them. The same applies to Captain America. It might be a popcorn flick in many people's eyes, but the emotional aspects of the film are completely negated by disruptive individuals. The point essentially is that demographics don't justify certain types of behaviour from individuals. That's what I love so much about the Queen's Film Theatre here in Belfast. It caters to a mature audience that appreciate and respect the movie-going experience. The QFT invites you into a very peaceful environment of individuals having intelligent conversation and enjoying their time without disrupting others. This nurtured experience makes the cinema more friendly and relaxed, encouraging greater social cohesion. Everybody wants to enjoy the film and have a good time without the unfair behaviour of others. But what truly bugs me about my experience with Captain America is that despite other people's intentions for seeing the film, my intentions were to simply get out of my own head. Watching a film to relieve personal stresses is a very powerful tool, and for people like me, it's one of the very few instances that my constant worries and anxieties dissipate so that I can enjoy myself for just a moment and feel fulfilled while doing so. Cinema helped me cope during stressful times, depression, and sparking my creativity, which also effectively controls my emotions. And I'm very sure that every single one of you can empathize with this feeling, whether it be in regards to going to the gym, socializing with friends, playing video games, or whatnot. To be prohibited from feeling better through these experiences by others who have the audacity to ruin it for you is a demoralizing and hollow feeling. Safety valves like the cinema exist for a reason, and we should honor these shared privileges. So the moral of the story? Don't be an asshole. If you have ever been in this position before, make sure to share your own thoughts in the comments below. What is your best or worst movie-going experience? The thing is, cinema is an all-inclusive experience. So respect others and shut the fuck up.